Good evening to the Dudley Conservation Board for December 10th. It's 6:36. Can members please state the name for attendance?
Fran Mikulajczyk.
Frank Gardecki. James Kepke.
George Slingo. First on the agenda is Farley Road Solar.
Good evening. I gotta sit here.
I'll open the public hearing at 6:37.
Good evening. I'm Rich Kirby from LEC Environmental, and with me tonight is the project proponent Chris Clark from Nexamp. Farley Road Solar LLC is a subsidiary of Nexamp, and Adam Christie from Meridian Associates. They're the project engineer. What we're proposing is a solar array on a 22-acre piece of property located at the intersection of Dudley and Center Road. This is, Center Road and Farley Road. This is Center Road here, and this is Farley Road here. So we have the site basically right here. The existing conditions are shown on this plan. You have a fallow agricultural field within the northern portion of the site and forested areas to the south. You have some shrub plant community between the forested areas and the field, a little bit up top too. The blue and green areas are isolated and bordering vegetated wetlands that occur within the southern portion of the site. And then of course we have Tufts Branch Brook, which is a perennial stream over here. So resource areas, we have riverfront area associated with Tufts Branch Brook. We have a floodplain boundary right here, Zone A. And of course we have the isolated and bordering wetlands and the associated buffer zone. So our staff were present over the summer to delineate the resource area boundaries. We didn't delineate the bank to the perennial stream because it's off-site. We didn't have site access. So Meridian overlaid the aerial showing the pretty well-defined channel and measuring 200 feet off of that to show where the riverfront area was. Since we filed the notice of intent, I went out to the site with the conservation agent, Matt Morrow, to review the wetland delineation. And my understanding is he went back out again after receiving some revised plans, which I'll get to in a minute. We filed the notice of intent showing the array here, and most of it is outside of the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Dudley Conservation bylaw. What we're proposing is a 20-foot wide gravel access drive to provide access to the site. We have some trap rock at the entrance to keep the construction vehicles clean and keep the sediment and soil from getting into the street. We have the array proposed here, and we have stormwater management measures. During construction, we're going to have a sediment pond down here and a ditch, essentially. Site topography extends generally to the south and to the southwest toward the stream. So during construction, as the land is open, if we get some rain, in addition to the erosion and sedimentation controls that surround the property, we're going to have the stormwater management features to collect the stormwater and trap any of that sediment. Once the array is installed, the area is stabilized with the ground cover vegetation, then the sediment basin and the swale will be converted to a detention pond and a diverter swale. And so that will function to collect and direct stormwater from the site in perpetuity after the land's been stabilized. We have limit of work line that's roughly along the 50-foot buffer zone line to these isolated wetlands here. We do come as close as 25 feet to this wetland over here, although that's all field right now. So once it's restored, it'll be in a similar condition. We're outside of the riverfront area. We're outside of the floodplain. So really, this is just a buffer zone project as shown on the plan. The notice of intent application did include a pretty thorough construction sequence that outlines exactly in what order the array will be installed. And per some initial planning board comments that we received, a revised set of plans was given to the commission, I think, last week. And Matt Morrow, the conservation agent, went back out to the site to take a look at things with the new plans. minor changes, mostly outside of the buffer zone. Some gravel parking areas were added here in order to accommodate construction vehicles and people that are going to park there during construction. A couple other things. What were some of the other issues?
The northern area for parking.
Yeah, I got that.
Well, there's one also along the side of the road, just temporary during construction.
Okay. And I think the access, we
Minor grading
some minor grading at the access
and at the turnaround.
down here at the turnaround. Okay.
From 4% to 2% across the way.
Yeah, for the most part, we're pretty much at existing grade. There's going to be a little cut, a little fill here and there, but for the most part, there's not a huge change to the landscape. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
That comes into the site.
Questions from the board?
My question I got is the culvert that crosses the road.
What's that?
The culvert that crosses the road, right into that area.
The culvert that crosses.
Yeah, it comes across through, comes down. It's a dirt.
Where he's talking?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it was addressed, that's all, because I didn't see it on the plan.
Yes, there was a comment from Graves Engineering that spoke of that. There is an existing culvert just north of the proposed entrance.
Right.
It's a 12-inch CMP pipe, and there's evidence that we located during the survey of a small grass-lined swale. And rather than going with a culvert underneath the proposed gravel drive, which basically our proposed grading is at grade, we're keeping with the existing drainage runoff pattern. So rather than putting in a 12-inch or 15-inch culvert and raising the road and putting in a speed bump, we just went with the trap rock entrance, which is ultimately the same thing as the construction tracking pad. So it acts as a riprap pad, sort of. And Graves Engineering, once we replied with that, he said he was good with that.
I just wanted to make sure it was addressed, because I know it crosses the road there.
Yes.
Are there any butters?
I have a couple questions. My name is Paul Wheelock, 28 Center Road. I've been living at 28 Center Road for 53 years. And as long as I can remember, when the farmers used to cut hay, plant corn over here, there's a section that's across the street from, say, 42 and 40 Center Road. It's always been wet. The farmers never cut hay there. They never planted anything there. And the reason they did is because it was always too wet. And I feel that area should be considered vegetated wetlands. So I don't know if we could take a look at it again. I know this year's been, we're 10 inches below normal for rainfall. So
Exactly where you proposed,
right across, right here. In this area right here. It's probably about an acre. It's always been left alone because it was always too wet for farmers to get in there, cut the hay, or plant corn or whatever. They got the road going through there.
So what's going to be there?
So I think this is another area that needs to be looked at.
okay, well, our consultant, Matt Morrow, went out there and looked.
Actually, there was some flags out there similar to the ones down in the other wetlands, so I don't know. What does that flag mean?
If I might, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
We were out at the site over the summer, and when we're delineating wetlands, we're looking at the plant community composition. Basically, the state has a list of all the plants that grow in the Northeast region, and they assign some of them wetland designation, some of them upland designation. If you have more than 50% wetland designated plants, that's the first criteria you need for an area to qualify as a wetland. The second thing you need to look at is the soil profile. And when groundwater is at or near the soil surface for a period of time during the growing season, it changes the color and character of the soil. So there's multiple criteria that you need. We did look at that field. We had 3 of our staff on site delineating the wetlands and reconning the property. There are pockets throughout that entire field, actually, where you do have some purple loosestrife, you do have some sensitive fern, and some other wetland plants. But at no point did we see an area that had, clearly more than 50% of the wetland plants in the area. That zone, when Matt Morrow and I were there, we parked up here and we walked down the street past the field and entered the wood line into the zone. So we walked right through that area before we walked down and took a look at all these resource areas. Then we went up to the pond and then came back. So I'm not sure what else to say other than we did a pretty thorough job looking at everything and trying to find areas that qualified.
Okay, because Matt Morrow, consultant, reviewed the wetland delineation and proposed and found that it was accurate and accurately depicted on the plan submitted to the commission. That's what our consultant said. In that area there, that's where you're going to have, where he's talking about, you're going to have the access road?
Yeah, the access road does come down through here. It's a 20-foot wide gravel access road and then heads to the west. Or no, that doesn't head to the west. There's the turnaround area right here. And then you have the stormwater management features down here at the southern part of the site.
Is there anything else?
A couple other questions. I'm sure you're going to be doing, you're going to clear a lot of the wood area and brush. Is that going to be all chipped and hauled, or are you going to use that outside? And what about the stumps? What are you going to do with all the stumps on this site?
The peer reviewing engineer that reviewed the project for the planning board, that was one of his comments actually, and the stumps need to be removed from the site. They can't be used as fill.
And also, you guys did some test holes, right? Is there a test hole plan that you have with us here? That's
They're
it?
right there. The test holes are shown on the on the plan. They're rectangles that are sort of
Okay,
black and white.
the last one you showed me there, in that area right there, when they dug, what was the water table at that point? Because when they mined that thing years and years ago, they mined it almost all the way down to the level of the swamp. So I was just wondering how wet that area is there also.
There is a lot of obvious site disturbance on the property, especially down here. You can see there's upgrading these wetlands. There's piles of fill material all throughout here. And even in the wetland areas themselves and the little uplands surrounding them, you have a very thin topsoil horizon, which tells me that they probably stripped the topsoil many years ago, and over time it's slowly rebuilding.
Well,
but
it's
not
still
much.
right there. There's 2 windrows of it right there.
But the
You just stated that.
yeah, there's all sorts of fill piles right in here. Do you have the soil test log and the soil data for that?
Yes. It's on the second sheet. So the test pit in that area has been identified on the plan, and the pond was designed in accordance to provide 2 feet of minimum separation from estimated seasonal high groundwater. The stormwater management system was reviewed by Graves Engineering and found to be satisfactory with Massachusetts standards. So the estimated seasonal high groundwater in that area of the test pit is approximately 12 inches. That pond the elevation in that area has been raised to accommodate this pond, and it was pushed further upslope from that test pit, providing adequate separation.
Are there any more questions?
No, that's it. But I still disagree with their findings about that one area up there. That is definitely a wood area. It should be considered wetland vegetation.
My name's Ken Canty, and I live at 30 Center Road. I've lived there a little bit longer than Paul. I'm a little bit older than he is. And I moved away, but I moved back into my folks' house right across the road. I can corroborate what he said relative to that area up that he pointed to adjacent to Center Road, that it was chronically wetland, always wet. And I baled hay for Roger Durkee in that whole field area over there over the years. And they never cut over there because it was too wet. This year may be an aberration because of the drought that we're in right now, and maybe that's why when they went and looked at it, it was drier. But I think chronically, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not.
But that wouldn't affect the soils. I mean,
But it was always wet. All right, so that's.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that point.
I mean, we base a lot on Matt Morrow. He's our consultant. He's pretty accurate with his stuff. So, and with the DEP, there was a DEP filing, and we have a number now.
Yes.
So, they reviewed it also. I will, I'll talk to Matt Morrow again on it, but it's reading his report, if you want to read it.
No, well, you might. Yeah, I would eventually, but.
I'll be happy to meet with them.
Yeah, you might want to meet with the neighbors who lived there for many years and talk to them about it. Okay.
There you go.
Well, that's the only comment I wanted to make, and I'd rather be safe than sorry.
So we don't have any objections to the project. We just want the thing to be done right.
We believe in alternative energy.
Very much so.
Are there any more questions from any questions from the board? Hearing none. Close the public hearing at 6:56? No, 53, sorry.
I do have a copy of the order of conditions that I had drafted up. If the commission's so inclined, if you wanted to vote to issue an order of conditions, it could be signed this evening. Part of the urgency on this order of conditions issuance is, as the commission may know, there's a cap or a limit on the number of megawatts of these solar projects that can be approved in a given year. And very quickly, the final amounts of megawatts that are able to be permitted are being eaten up, if you will, by all the other folks that are doing solar in the state. And in order for the proponent to sort of get in line, if you will, he needs an order of conditions signed by the commission to show that he needs to check that box to get in line. So we would ask, if the commission's so inclined, if you would vote to issue the order of conditions. I have 3 copies of it here. You're welcome to review it and take a look at it, and you could sign the form tonight if it makes sense.
We have the form already.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I checked and the DEP issued the number.
Yes, they got it this
This afternoon, so-
afternoon.
So, can we, Joe, can we pass this?
Yes. We look at the area of concern, yes. We can issue an order of conditions.
Work with the neighbors.
We have that right.
Want me to make a motion?
Sign that yet?
this here.
Want to make a motion for that?
For Matt to do that work.
Okay. On Matt Morrow's paperwork, the DEP has commented in the past that they would like to see extra monitoring on solar projects and recommend that the applicant pay the commission an initial fee of $2,000 to allow it for covering the cost of the added hours. Is that a?
Yeah, I mean, similar to other projects that we've done, because we're, altering some land, we need to make sure that the site stays stable and that those erosion controls that are installed to make sure it stays stable are monitored, so that way we know that they're working. So, yeah, I mean, I think on behalf of Next Tampa, we agree to that provision. Okay.
Something like the motion?
If I might, one,
That wasn't paid with part of the
yeah, one of the,
Oh, okay.
the additional filing fee made payable to the town of Dudley. We have that here.
Okay, right. Is
That's for the wetland consultant fee, right? Yes.
there anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we issue the notice of intent for solar array solar array on Fairley Road Solar, with the other conditions that Matt Morrow re-inspects the area.
That was outlined by the neighbors. That was outlined by the neighbors.
Yeah, that was outlined by the neighbors visiting the meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's been, ayes have it. Motion passes.
All right, so when will the order of conditions be ready for pickup?
If you want to wait till after the meeting, they can sign it, and then we'll make copies and you can take it with you.
Okay, that works for us.
It's not going to be long, it's only one thing.
Fair enough.
Next thing on the,
Thanks very much.
Thank you, John.
So is there a condition here that suppose we do find that it's vegetated wetlands?
we're relying on Matt Morrow, our consultant's decision.
Yeah, so if
We'll
he
make-
changes his mind, then you have to redo the plan and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
if
I'll
he
be happy
changes
to
his
meet
mind.
with Matt anytime. I'm usually home, so he knows where I live.
Okay,
I'll take a walk up there with him and I can talk to him about it.
not a problem.
All right. Thank you.
118 Klondike Road, Darlene Bomba, request for a 3-year extension of existing order of conditions. And that's it.
Those are going to run by Matt.
Oh,
She hasn't completed the project yet, so she'd like another 3 years.
I'll make a motion to issue extension.
okay, motion's been made.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion for adjournment?
Nope. We got the meeting, the minutes from
Get the
November
minutes.
19th.
Oh, minutes from the meeting of 19th, sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And before you adjourn, these are Wetland Protection Act, if you want to take a couple. Those were ones that were made by the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners. They have their information, but also ours on it. So if you want to take some and just have them on hand, if you ever go out and somebody's questioning what the wetlands are, all the information's in there. And they were $30 for a 200, and they're printed on, good quality paper, and we can have them reprinted whenever too.
Okay?
Yep.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion has been made. Seconded.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
7:02.
motion carries, 7:02.